everyone. So last time we looked at the area of a parallelogram, which we should remember was the base times the perpendicular height of a parallelogram. Today we're going to focus on how we derive the area of a trapezium and then use the formula. Okay, and it's really important that you have the background and know the area of the parallelogram because we're going to use that when we come up with the formula. I'm going to show you two ways to do that. Okay. So the first way, what we're going to do is we're going to take this trapezium, okay, and you'll notice that the top length is A and the bottom length is B, and that it has a perpendicular height, okay. Now, the A and B I want you to consider to be the parallel sides, okay? So in a trapezium, you've got one pair of parallel sides that are opposite each other, whereas the other two sides are not parallel, okay? Meaning they go in different directions. But as you can see, A and B are parallel because they go in the same direction, and the shape has a perpendicular height. So let's have a little bit of a play. Okay, so let's assign some colors and split up the same, as you can see, that's exactly the same trapezium. I've just split it up into different shapes, okay? And I want you to consider that top bit to be half of the height and the bottom bit to be half of the height. All right, so now I've cut it in half vertically. Okay, and now we're rotating this, okay, 180 degrees. What I'm going to do is take that and place it there. Okay, and what you should notice is that we now have a parallelogram, which is what we worked with last time. And since that bottom section was worth B and the top side was worth A, when I put them together, I get B plus A or A plus B. Okay, and that would actually be the same at the top. Right, so now I'm just going to reorganize that, take off that triangle and put that here. And what I actually now have is a rectangle, which is quite cool. We know that a rectangle's area is length times width. In this case, I have half of the original height times the A plus B, okay? And that gives us that the area is a half of the height times A plus B. Now we actually write that like this, okay? So the area is A plus B times H over 2. That's a fairly straightforward way to write it. However, there is another method that can get us to the same thing, and that's what I would like to show you next. Okay, so we're going to move to the visualizer now. Just a moment. Let's get that set up for you. Okay, we're going to make it full screen so that you can see it really easily. Okay, and let's focus in. Right, so what I've done is I've already drawn a trapezium, okay? I've used like this blue color for the bottom, we're going to call that B, okay? I've used a pink color for the top, and those two are our parallel opposite sides, okay? So I know it's a trapezium because these two aren't parallel, right? And what I also have, as we know, is a perpendicular height. I'll do that in black as well. Okay, so consider that to be the perpendicular height. Right, so this time I'm going to also create a parallelogram, but I'm going to think about it a little bit differently. Okay, I'm going to repeat this shape, okay, but I'm going to reflect it and then attach it. Okay, all right, so if I do that, when I reflect it or rotate it, more to the point, we get... Just make sure it's exactly the same so you can see it really well. Okay, so I did the B as 7 centimeters. So let's make that 7 centimeters up here. Okay, so now I've got the B on the top. Yeah. On the bottom here, okay, we have, I originally did that as 3. So let's do this one as 3. Okay, there we go. All right, and then we can call that A, and then we are going to connect. All right, so those are exactly the same shape. What I've actually done is I've rotated this one 180 degrees and then placed it on the other side. Okay, and by doing that, I've created a parallelogram. But I'm hoping what you'll notice just like in the last example, is that this length here is a plus b. Same with at the top, okay? And that's the height, the perpendicular height. However, I want the area of one trapezium. So at the moment, to get the area of this whole parallelogram, I would be doing the base, which is a plus b, times the perpendicular height, which is h, okay? That was, remember, our formula for the area of a parallelogram. However, our trapezium is half of this, okay? So I'm going to cut that in half. So I get to the same formula. The area of the trapezium is going to be a plus b times the height divided by 2. Okay, how you write that is completely up to you. Some people like to cut the height in half first and then multiply by the value of a plus b. Some people like to write it out like this. Others prefer just to put the half in front. Okay, half of h and then times a plus b. It's completely up to you, as long as you make sure that after you found a plus b, you multiply by the height and divide by 2, then it will always work. Okay, and that is how we get to our formula for the area of a trapezium. 2 ways to get there. It works in both ways. It gives us the same formula. Okay, so that's the key bit that we need to learn. I suggest you pause the video now and you take a note on this method and you make sure that you have your formula written down in your notes. Okay, so please pause the video. Okay, well done, guys. Just getting it split screened for us. Okay. All right, so there is a third option for how to write your formula. Okay, on the screen there, area is equal to a half of a plus b times the height. We did the same here. We just turned the height and the a plus b around. It doesn't matter. They're all multiplied together, so the order you write them does not matter. But please remember that you are doing a plus b in a bracket so that those two values are added together before you multiply by the height and then divide by 2. Okay? All right, so we're going to try a question to see if we've understood that. We're going to do this one together. Right, so here we have our trapezium. Okay, we know that they told us that this side is 3 centimeters. They've told us that this part is 5 centimeters. Okay, let's connect. And make sure when you do questions that you do a diagram as well. Okay, I keep reiterating that in these videos, but it does help you in terms of understanding what you're doing. Okay, and that's 2.4 centimeters there. Right, so now they ask us to find the area. So let's write down our formula. Now I personally prefer this version. So we're going to have a plus b times h all over 2, okay, because we're cutting it in half. Our a plus b, those are the a plus b are the parallel sides, that opposite pair of parallel sides, okay, so that's what we're going to put in. So in the bracket, we have 3 plus 5, and then times that perpendicular height, which is just here, we can see it's perpendicular, okay, which is 2.4. And let's see what that gives us. So that gives us 8 times 2.4. Now, I can split that up to make it easier. So remember, that's the same as saying 8 times 2 plus 8 times 0.4. Okay, I know that 8 times 2 is 16, and I know that 8 times 4 is 32, so that would be 3.2 because I have one decimal place. Okay, and finally, that gives us 19.2. When we add it together, don't forget its area, so it's centimeters squared. Okay, so hopefully that example made sense. Yes, it's now time for you to try some. Okay, so you've all written down your formula already, so you should be able to substitute into it. All right, make that full screen. So can you pause the video now and try those 3 questions? We will then go through the answers. Okay. Well done. Let's get that up for you. Okay, lovely. Right. Let's take a look at question 7A. Okay. There we go. All right, so let's get our diagram done. We have 4. And underneath we have 6. Okay, and we'll connect. And then they've told us that the perpendicular height for this one was 3. And so we should have labeled that as 3. And there's our right angle. Okay, so they made that very clear for us. Right, so let's put this into our formula. I really want you to write out the formula every time. So if you haven't been doing that, that's something you need to start doing for multiple reasons. It shows your work. And when you get to your GCSEs, if you don't show your work, you don't get all your marks. Okay, so we need to make sure that we write down our formula each time. Okay, let's do this. So our parallel sides are 4 plus 6. And we are multiplying by the perpendicular height, which is 3. And that is all divided by 2. 4 plus 6 is 10 times 3 divided by 2, which is 30 divided by 2, which is 15 centimeters squared. Okay, so well done, guys. If you got that, nice tick. If not, you need to make sure you correct that. So you might have to rewind the video. Okay. Now, just because something is tilted does not mean that you don't follow the same method. Okay, it's still a trapezium. These two are the parallel sides. That is 38 millimeters. Okay, and this one is 82 millimeters. I'm quite happy if you use a calculator for questions like this. Okay. And connect that. All right, and we can see that they've shown us that this is the perpendicular height because they've shown us it's perpendicular, and that is 44 millimeters. Okay, so we've got A, B, and our height. So the area is going to be A plus B times the height, all divided by 2, which is going to be 38 plus 82 times the 44, all divided by 2. Okay, and here's where I'm quite happy for you to use a calculator to help you out. Okay, so let's do the 38 plus 82 first. There we go. So that is 120 times 44, all divided by 2. Okay, and we can use a fraction button now. 120 times 44, all divided by 2, is equal to 2,640 millimeters squared for our area. Okay, right. Part C. Right, so this time we have a slightly different shape of trapezium. This does happen where it gets chopped off and our height is actually one of the sides, okay, because it's perpendicular to the parallel sides. All right, so that often happens with trapezia. It's still a trapezium though, because these two are not parallel, but these two are, okay? And they told us that this was 5 centimeters, 8 centimeters, 5 centimeters, and 4 centimeters. Now, they've given you this to try and trick you. That is not perpendicular. That is not the height. We're not going to use that. Okay, so fun that they told us that. If they wanted us to find the perimeter, it would be useful because then I could add up the sides, but it doesn't help me with the area. This is the height. Okay, because that is perpendicular to those two parallel sides. Right, so the area is equal to A plus B times the height divided by 2. In this case, A and B are 5 and 8, so 5 plus 8 times the height of 4, all divided by 2. This one we wouldn't need a calculator for, okay? 5 plus 8 is 13 times 4 divided by 2. Teach you a little trick. We can cancel down because it's a fraction. Okay, that's a 1, that's a 2. Okay, we're allowed to do that because this is multiplied together. Okay, if that was a plus sign, I'd have to divide by 2 for both numbers. But that's a times sign, so they'll times together. I can cancel down with one of those numbers. Okay, and that is going to give me 26 when I do 13 times 2, and that is centimeters squared. Okay, so well done, guys. All right. If you struggled with any of those, can you now go back and redo them, okay, in the video, and then move on to our last 2 sets of questions, okay? Right, so let's make this full screen for you. All right, you're going to try this question next. Okay, so please can you pause the video, try the question, and then press play when you're ready to go through the solution. Okay, well done, guys. Let's take a look. There we go. Right, so first of all, we start with our diagram. Okay, fairly traditional looking trapezium. There we go. Right, and we've got 1.1 meters. We have 1.3 meters, and our perpendicular height, they have told us, is 0.45 meters. Okay, right, and the question says, the glass for a car windscreen costs $315 per square meter. So I know that the cost is equal to 315 pounds, and that is per meter squared. So every meter squared is going to cost this. So once we get our area in meters squared, we'll have to multiply by the cost to get the total cost. The shape of the car windscreen is approximately a trapezium. Work out the cost of the glass for this car windscreen. So my assumption is correct. I will have to work out the cost, so this will become important at the end. Okay, but first we have to work out the area. You are allowed a calculator for this one. Okay, so area is equal to A plus B times the height, okay, all divided by 2. In this case, that's 1.1 times 1.3, and then, sorry about that. 1.1 plus 1.3, and then times the height of 0.45, okay, and that is going to give us 1.1 plus 1.3 is 2.4. times 0.45, okay, and obviously we are dividing by 2. All right, now we take our calculator and work that out. So fraction button, 2.4 times 0.45, all divided by 2. Press the SD button, gives us 0.54 meters squared. Okay, remember we're not done the question yet. We have to work out the cost. So cost is going to be equal to 0.54 times 315, and that's because it's 315 pounds per meter squared. Again, you're allowed to use a calculator. So 0.54 times 315 is equal to 170 pounds and 10 pence. So our final cost is 170 pounds and 10 pence. Okay, so well done those of you who got that. All right, good work. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so you're going to pause your screen as you're going to try this question. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. You might want to work out the individual areas and then match them up to the given areas. Okay, that's how you're going to do that question. Okay, well done. Let's take a look. Right, okay. So if we're looking at this question, we have different shapes, okay? I'm not going to draw these ones for interest of time, all right? But our first shape, that pink triangle, is a triangle, so we're going to say that the area is equal to the base times height divided by 2. Our base was 16, and our height was 10, and we are dividing that by 2, okay? That's going to give us 160 divided by 2, which is 80. And in this case, that's centimeters squared. So I know that that's the green box, okay? So we know that the first one was the green box. So hopefully you got that. Right. For part 2, we have a parallelogram. So remember, we're not going to use the 5 as the height. It has to be perpendicular, so we're going to use the 4. So the area is just equal to the base times the perpendicular height, which is 19 times 4, which is going to be 10 times 4 is 40. 9 times 4 is 36. So that gives us 76 centimeters squared, which was the pink box. Pink or peach box. Yes, the lightly colored one. Okay. Right. And for part 3, we have another triangle. Okay, so remember in this case, we're not going to use that 20 because it's diagonal. We want to use the perpendicular height and the base. All right, so our area is going to be base times height divided by 2. And that will be 16 times 12 divided by 2. Okay, and hold on, we're getting there. That is going to be equal to, now I would use the canceling down, okay? So I could cancel that to a 1 and this to a 6. All right, now let's take a look at what that is. So we have 16 times 6. 10 times 6 is 60. 6 times 6 is 36. And so in total, we have 96 centimeters squared, which is the blue box. Okay. And finally, for part 4, let's take a look. We have a trapezium. All right, so we're using the 9 for the perpendicular height, so we don't care about the 15. And we're using the 7 and the 13 for A and B. So our area is A plus B times our height, all divided by 2, which will give us 7 plus 13 times the 9, all divided by 2. That's going to be 20 in the bracket times 9, all divided by 2. Let's cancel down. That becomes 10, which gives us 10 times 9, which is 90 centimeters squared, and that is the dark pink box. Okay, so well done, everyone. Please, if there's anything you need to go through again, you can rewind the video and look at it again and make sure that you've mastered this, okay? Excellent work, and well done. Proud of you, okay? Looking forward to the next lesson.